Hey,
Hi
Good
guys.
morning.
good morning, everybody. This is I would just like to point out that my hair is down and slightly fixed today.
It
Yes,
looks
it looks
pretty.
beautiful.
I'm trying to do more of what matters. Actually, I had that thought this morning and I thought I should just shave this head because I don't care about it. But I know, as most of you watching, if you watched even our coffee talk last week, that when we're talking about doing more of what matters, it doesn't mean we go out and shave our heads or just burn our clothes, because who wants to spend time of sitting here and wearing clothes? That's not even close to what our topic is. But
No,
right?
we wear our clothes until they stink. Remember, we don't burn them.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we aren't going to waste our time on laundry, ladies. And if that's you sitting there thinking like I need to do laundry all the time, no. We should almost actually, maybe just to make me feel better, maybe put in the comments how often you wash your sheets. Not your kids' sheets where they seem to like accidentally pee in them all the time. I don't know, their rooms just smell weird. But your own sheets. Like how often are we actually washing them? Okay. Yeah, I wish we could do this anonymously. I feel like we get a lot more comments on that, but you know. So welcome for our second. This is our second session, just touching on, because this is like a topic that I just told them before we even went live. I'm already tearing up. Okay, like honestly, soul care. We're talking about just doing more than what matters. So I'm gonna just jump right into Cece because she mentioned, you mentioned the topic of soul care.
Yeah.
And I mean, why is that even an important topic to you?
Yeah. So, so I guess it's story time in a way, because soul care, first of all, is a topic. Reagan just said it, that you could spend, and I want to spend, and probably will spend weeks, months, and years teaching in different ways. I don't know that anytime I teach the word that I'm not hitting on soul care, because the word equals soul care. That's
So
a
true.
whole area that I won't hit today. But soul care to me is really personal, because it is what I was. It was the position that I found myself in as a little tiny girl. In other words, because my personal story has to do with no believers around me, not a Bible on a table, not a Bible on a shelf, no mention of Jesus, and really just the times that God was mentioned was very distant. And I was put in a parochial school where for the first time I heard people talking about God and Jesus and what he offers. And I was just like a first grader, just thinking, oh my gosh, the whole world needs to know this. Like, what? The whole world needs to know this. Went home and told my parents about it as a first grader. And they just were quiet and not interested at that point. I always like to tell the end of my story at the beginning. My parents came to know Jesus in their 50s. My brother, before he went to Jesus, and my sisters know the Lord right now, as do their kids. But when I was growing up, it was crickets. It was crickets at the name of Jesus. And so so soul care for me, Reagan, is so big, because I know you're going to think I'm silly, but I used to lean on my wall as a first grader and talk to my picture of Jesus, the one with the golden locks. That I know a lot of people don't like that picture. I've heard it in sermons through the years, but it's very dear to me. And now it hangs in my room, and it's
That
this.
surfer Jesus?
The surfer Jesus is everything to me as a first and second grader, everything. Because my soul care was, I know you exist and I'm little, and I want to talk to you a lot. I just want to talk to you and I want to hear from you. So soul care primarily, in a word, is intimacy with Jesus. And there are the later webinar that we're going to do in a couple weeks, and my portion being on soul care, I'm going to talk about all the obstacles. They're going to fall into three categories, but then within those obstacles are more obstacles, and we're going to get really clear on the things that keep us, so to speak, from leaning on Jesus, like John, the disciple, leaned on the chest of Jesus. I leaned on my stucco wall and my picture of surfer Jesus, and he met me there. And it was such, go ahead. I was just going to say.
I know. This is the worst.
And it was such deep waters. That's all I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. But even with that, like I was saying, so like here you are in first grade, leaning on this wall with this picture of Jesus, feeling comfort from that, like inside comfort.
Yeah.
And I mean, now let's progress. And obviously you're not in first grade, though you look amazing. All right. Drink a lot of water, ladies. But just like, how do you know? Like, I'm just sitting here, like, because even when I knew that this topic's coming up, I'm sitting on here at the panel of 4, just sitting there thinking, like, I never give any thought to my soul unless I'm sitting in church and they raise their hand of like, you know, you want your soul to get saved. I'm like, you know what? I just need it again. Let's resave. Yes, I'll say the sinner's prayer. But how does that look now? Like, are you, you know, like, how are you even knowing, like, hey, my soul is, how would somebody even know that their soul needs care?
Okay, so it looks the same, but different, but it looks very much the same, which is a good shout out to all of our kids and any teenagers that click on. It looks the exact same, and I've never known a different way because of how I came to know the Lord. And the way that it looks is this: Lord Jesus, I am living in deep waters. And those deep waters, as a first and a second and a third and a fourth and an 8th grader and a 9th grader and a 12th grader, looked like a family of addiction broken by divorce and all kinds of things. That's what it looked like then. That all came to be the most trusted people in my life with Jesus. So good. Now what it looks like, post high school, went through college, got my degree, and today, very much the same. You are surrounded always in deep waters, and those deep waters are the expectations of others daily, the needs on us. If you're a mom, yes. But if you're a sister, if you're a wife, yes. But if you're not married, what is your work? You know what's funny about that? You know, a lot of times we talk about the family dynamic, but women that either were married and are not, or chose not to be married, which is okay, had kids, but now they're grown, all those different women in all those different places, people will look at you and say, oh, you're an empty nester. You have a ton of time. Could you do this, this, and this? Like, it doesn't ever end. Do you know what I'm saying?
Digits.
Yeah, right? It never ends. And so those deep waters are what we're going to talk about in the webinar, people's expectations and their huge needs. Your own personal disappointments and the disappointments of others towards us. Oh, those are rough waters. That I'm now in the first layer. Let's just go second and third and fourth layer. Now I've become a leader, or I'm helping on the PTA, or I said yes to having a slumber party with 8 teenage girls or middle school. I don't know, that might be one of the worst. But what I'm saying is the expectation of that, because you're in leadership role, I got to think of fun things. I got to be the cool mom. I got to have the right snacks. I got to keep them apart. I got to check on them at 2 a.m. I mean, talk about expectations. All I did was describe a birthday party to you. Deep waters surround us, and it always looks like leaning on Jesus. It never should come away from that. Lord, help me if I ever get to a place to where I feel like I've got it figured out as a Christian woman. Lord, truly, I mean it, help me. Because that is the scariest place to be. And I'm telling you, girls, that is the goal of all of us, whether we believe it or not. And it's the wrong goal. Somewhere in us, we think we're going to arrive at this. Now listen to me. I know that I have gotten the opportunity and the privilege to mature in some ways in Jesus, and so have you. And I'm going to boast in Jesus for that, because from my roots and from who I am, the fact that I can even say that, all glory to God. And you know it's true if you know me. What I'm saying is we are going to mature and we are going to overcome certain things, but we will never be outside of those deep waters until my last breath. And so if we understand that, it is the new believer that gets hit by this the most, because they have a bunch of Job's friends around them telling them, do you have sin in your life? Have you been extra grateful this week? Have you had some thankful prayers? You know what I mean? Like, are you doing your devotionals? Like, is it really quiet when you do your devotionals? Because that's really the key here. And they get hit by all the obstacles that I just mentioned. And it's not even their own sin, guys. And they'll get thrown, and they're struggling in those deep waters going, I became a Christian and I thought that you were always there. Well, listen, he is there, but you have to go. You have to pull away like he did in Luke. You have to lean into the Father like Jesus himself did. If you're the Son of God and you have to pull away for rest, I think we do too.
Who are we?
Do you know what I'm saying? And so in answer to your question, Reagan, it looks different now. It looks like raising those teens, speaking into them every day, that I have sitting at the table this morning with my 10-year-old Josiah and saying, here's this question to me. Do you think when I'm a middle schooler, I'll get rough with you because life is so hard for me in middle school and high school? Do you think I'll become that person, Mom? And I said, I don't.
No way.
I don't. And so 25 minutes with that guy, right? His deep waters, his fears about his own potential to sin or fall or not be enough for his mama. I said, no. And so the answer is Jesus, beginning and end. No mystery to soul care, guys. But there is deep waters that we're going to dive into. And look at the things that we accept into our life as normal and as okay, when really, quite honestly, they're obstacles to leaning on Jesus. And so that's what I got for you. Jen, when I talk about soul care, first of all, Jen is a rock star, and I tell her all the time, like she's an overcomer, like it makes me cry.
You're not allowed to do this. I can pull the plug on this live any minute.
Yeah, so you, Jen, we want to hear from you, girl. Like, what does soul care mean to you? And I just want to hear from you, girl.
When you talk about deep waters, I kept thinking of like deep water, there's a lot of pressure, the pressure of the water pressing against you, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you said deep water, I just had this picture of, and She's Velvet Steel is geared towards women, right? So I want to talk to the women.
Yeah.
When we're in those deep waters, it's pressure. It's pressure from the PTA. It's pressure from the church. It's pressure from, like you just said, Job's friends. I'll never forget when Andy's mom got diagnosed with cancer. And these people with their Bibles in their hand came to visit her in the hospital. And they said, you have got some unconfessed sin that you've got to get rid of.
Let me just say sorry from the church right now.
And I just remember her pressure, that pressure for her was just, people don't understand. There's power to our words. Levi said it this weekend, like your spoken word creates things. Like we were created by the Creator, right? In his image, and he's a creator. So we can create things with our words. So soul care is we don't have the privilege to not take care of ourselves. And I truly believe that we're called to live these bold lives, but it's even that much more important that we're bold with our soul care. That we take that day, we take that time to get our hair done and our quiet time with God and our alone walks, our walks alone of just being totally quiet. But I just kept thinking deep water pressure, and I want to pop that pressure bubble for women to just say, we are called to live bold lives, but girlfriend, it is not the way the world says bold. The world says bold, do more. You can do this, do more. Pack it on, pack it on, pack it on, pack it on. And we are called to live bold lives, but it looks so countercultural. And I think that's what I'm so excited about the webinar is we can give women that picture of what it looks like. Because our souls, they're beat down.
They are. And just my final thought before Reagan and Jamie bring us home is just, so you just nailed it, Jen, because so my live Facebook tomorrow for She's a Velvet Steel and on my own page is about just that. Listen, when we say deep waters, Jen brought balance to that also it's doing the light-hearted things that bring us out of those deep waters. Like there are deep, it says in the Psalms, deep calls to deep, and we're going to handle some of that in the webinar. Equally, I am somebody that chooses light-hearted, frivolous things all the time. I take my life, the intensity of who I am, the intensity of my passion that the world knows Jesus, the intensity of my love for the word even, and I set it down. It's still with me, right?
Right.
But I set it down. I set that intensity down and I do something frivolous and fun and lighthearted because I will start to take myself too serious.
Yeah.
Get in the way, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to do more on that tomorrow, but I just wanted to put a period at the end of that sentence. And Reagan, before Jamie closes us, do you have any other thoughts on soul care in your life, girl?
Well, all I could hear whenever you said deep waters, and I'm positive somebody else is watching out there, replay or live, so put your name down with me. As soon as you said deep waters, I just felt like drowning. I'm like, I'm just drowning. Like today, I'm drowning. And just leave it at that. You know, when you mentioned the birthday party, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm already like stressing out over a birthday that I have at the end of March. And it's just, I think we've overlooked a topic so much, and especially for any woman that is out there you're just struggling at all. Like we can't even comprehend. If we sat down with somebody and just explained our day, they'd be like, what? I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
Unless it's another mom, and they'll be like, yeah, then we're kind of like rooting each other on, but honestly, almost to our own detriment. And so I just think this is such a good topic. And I love, you know, just a little clip for, you know, a little promo for that we're going to end up doing with the webinar, but it's going to be more deep and actual practicals, because I think what we want and what I'm realizing as we do each of these little brief coffee talks, and they're just brief, to realize that I have a need. Like I'm sitting here and I'm saying, you know what? Yeah, my entire world is deep waters, and it's not a deep water that I'm like floating around. I mean, like, I'm just literally, it's just crashing in on me. And I'm not even treading water at this point. I'm just like, you know, sinking. So
thanks for your
I'm the one that wants to cry on a Monday. So Jamie, bring it light, man. That's not really her gift, but
my heart beats when I listen to these words, because, and when I say beats, so like I can feel it in my chest, because I think back to different seasons of deep waters. I think sometimes it's in the dark in deep waters and you feel super scared and alone. Sometimes you feel like you still have your head above and at least you can see. I mean, the deep waters can be, you know, different seasons and different pressures. But I want to speak to the girl, because I want to speak to the Jamie that was in the dark, deep waters, that asked this question: what's wrong with me? Why can't I get myself out of this? Why am I still drowning? I've known Jesus for so long, and I'm worshiping and I'm praying and I'm going to church and I'm telling people and I'm asking people to pray for me and I'm doing all the right things. What's wrong with me? Why can't I get out of this? Something's wrong. So I want to speak to that girl and to the old Jamie that absolutely nothing is wrong. And I used to say all the time in my prayers, it's too much. I'm going to drown. I would say that I'm going to drown. I'm not going to make it through it. It's too much. And I feel like what you said in the beginning, that we've, by a culture, has taught us to be self-sufficient, and that our growth is to be stronger, you know, and there's truth to that. But it's twisted truth. And so it kind of becomes blurry. It's twisted truth because you are to be stronger, but it's an internal pressure by the power of Jesus. So I can't remember who it was, Skip Heitzig maybe, that wrote about pressure, and he wrote about these tiny little fish that are found in the deep, 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 deep waters of the ocean, where we can't even go without exploding, right? Because of the pressure. How are these tiny little fish existing in the deep, deep waters? They found that the internal blood pressure of these fish was stronger than the external pressure of the weight of the water. So their internal blood pressure was pushing harder out. And I think God wants us to go, yes, this is too much for me,
right?
But not for you. I'm little fish in big water. But by your power in me, that is a pressure pushing out that will make me strong in you. Not because I'm big fish, not because I'm growing into this bigger body, bigger capacity. It's my capacity, my spirit is growing in you. And that's what happens with this soul care thing, right? Is that when we go, I'm little, this is deep, but I'm going to lean right here, and I'm going to go and swing on a swing, and I'm going to breathe in the winds, right? And take in the sun, and I'm going to eat good and plenties with Cece, and I'm going to go, you know what? I can lean today because I'm little fish in the big water, but my God is bigger than all of that.
He is.
So I can rest right now in that because I don't have to be big fish. I don't. And so I feel like that we are called to step into bold calling, and we talked about that last week. We are called to do it. And there is something out there that is going to push you. You're going to be pushed into deep waters just by stepping into the calling. You're going to be pushed into an upstream battle. But here's the thing. You were never expected to do it in your strength. God has never once said, I will give you what you can handle and nothing more. He never said it. And so when we're questioning ourselves, gosh, God, I mean, he's not going to give me more than I can handle. He must think I'm really strong. No, he doesn't.
No,
he absolutely doesn't think you're strong. And yes, you have more than you can handle. And he just wants you to admit it and go, but it isn't too much for you. You know? And so I think that is absolutely the key understanding of the bold, strong life calling, walking we're to do is to go little fish, big waters. I'm not going to swim, you know? And I don't know where I'm going. I can't see, but my God does. And so I can be happy in that and rest in that and not know a lick of what's going to happen next. But Jesus does. And so then Cece's leaning on the wall gives this peace and this patience and this goodness that then can overwhelm us and propel us forward. So
Jen, what did you say? Jamie was looking down. She didn't know you said something. What were you saying right there?
I was just saying, I've always hated that saying when people say, God doesn't give you more than you can handle, because I remember, and we've talked about this, when we were first kind of telling our deepest, darkest stories, not live.
Right. That's a late night coffee talk, ladies.
But I remember we all four have had more than one moment of being on our knees saying, this is more than I can handle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, it is. And actually that is all in his plan.
It is.
Because like when you're talking about that little fish, big fish, I'm thinking, and the battles that rage every single day in the storm. I love it because they're not our battles. We're like, that's his. That's his battle. You know, like I'm just here. It's almost like he's that shield, and that battle people want to have against you or have against what you believe or misunderstand you or whatever. That's his fight, because we're the little.
I like Jen that you move side to side. You know why? Because I've had a visual of being in those deep waters, and that shame is the final thing that pushes us under the water, right? So those obstacles that we're going to talk about in the webinar, it's not, sometimes sin, guys, puts us in the deep waters, but lots of times we're just there because we live in this world. Right. And so it's not your fault, which is basically what Jamie's saying. It's just a part of living in this world. But in that final analysis, if we don't dodge and let God take what he's supposed to take and partner with him, like he's right behind us and in front of us, then the final thing will be that shame just pushes us right under that water, and we're not having it. We're not having it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
So girls, we're going to wrap up here right
Yep.
now. And I know that you're going, okay, so what do I do? Where is the balance then of pursue and fight on the front lines and rest, float, lean in? Where is this balance? How does that look? We'll talk about that more in the webinar that we're going to start in April, and you will see a registration open for that next week, which is super exciting. We're keeping it super, super low cost, $9 for 3 webinars with practical application for you to start doing. Okay, so
why do we round it to 10? It's a weird number.
You know what it is?
This
You
is
know what?
weird. Come on.
Wait, guys, it's so fun. It's 3 lattes. So
if you
latte
want a
is
tip,
$3. It's $3
$10.
Coffee Talk lattes for 30 minutes. What? Okay.
Yeah. So you have from now till next week to save yourself some $9, and then we'll go in a little bit deeper with this, because the reality is that it isn't all leaning. I think some of us have a tendency to, when faced in a battle, to avoid, stick our head in the sand, run, the flight response.
Sure.
And that's not leaning into Jesus either.
Right.
Just saying, like some of you are like, sweet, Coffee Talk just gave me the okay to run from the battle. We're not saying that.
No.
At the same time, some of us have a tendency to go, fight, bring it, and you're like, in my face, I'm not backing down. And I remember God specifically saying, he's like, oh, you are so much like my Jacob. Do you know Jacob? I'm like, oh, I don't like him. And so, I mean, he's cool after a while, but he was kind of feisty. And he's like, yeah, you're so much like him. It was a good revelation for me. My fight was in the wrong direction. What was I fighting for? So let's talk about that some more. Let's talk about some practicals in the weeks that come. Registration next week, then April is where we get to start really nailing this out, and for you, applying it to your life. So next week, Jen is going to give us a little preview of the 3rd webinar, which we're calling Practicals and Planning. Not practicals for all 3 of these things per se, although it's the requirement for doing more of what matters is doing less of what doesn't, and then figuring out how to put them into your time, how to apply your resources to them. Because they don't just happen just by going, I've got some things that matter that I should do. I mean, we are going to have to put some steps to it. So Jen's going to give us a little preview of that. And of course, going deeper on the webinar week. So this is good stuff. Such good time. So glad all 4 of us shed some tears today. I feel like we're not blood sisters. We're tear sisters today. It's all good. Who else was in the tear sisterhood today? It's good. So thanks so much for joining us for Coffee Talk this morning. She's Velvet Steel, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week with topic 3 of 3.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.